everyone, I'm going to read the next chapter of Boot for you now, and I'm just going to put my phone down so that I can hold the book properly and keep reading. So if you want to open up your books now, we're on the chapter A Pal for Mr. Piggles, page 46, okay? I'm going to put my phone down so you won't be able to see it, but read along in your own books, please, okay? A Pal for Mr. Piggles. In the steady rain, I splashed and waddled around the puddles, trying to stay as dry as possible while being dragged between three pretend animals. None of the pretend animals appeared bothered by the rain, or in fact by anything at all. They had sparkling eyes, but how can I describe this? There was no life behind them. They looked as if they would have been as happy being fed into a crunching grinder as they were making their owner laugh. Was I like this once too? A little shudder ran through my body at the thought, shaking raindrops from the surface. Finally, we reached a doorway into a building where a rather thin grey robot with a peaked cap on its head opened the door, and the woman ushered us inside into a wide lobby. She shook her umbrella dry behind her and handed it to the lobby robot. "Walk on," she said, and the pets trotted across the floor with me being dragged by the pig. We stepped into a lift, and as the doors closed behind her, the woman bent down to me. "Oh, look at you, all shiny with that squidgy belly, and those dents on you will buff right out." I put my hand on my crack again, and she did the strangest thing. She spat on a tissue and used it to rub a smudge of dirt off my head. The lift went bing, and the doors opened, and the pets trotted out and stopped by a door across the hallway, waiting patiently. With a rattle of keys, the woman opened the door. "Go," she said, releasing the lead so that the three robots could bound inside. They pulled me after them and settled into a large basket. I looked at the pig. It licked me with its plastic tongue. My internal temperature was exactly the same as it had ever been, but again I felt a strange heat in my cheeks, just like I had when I had tripped over and fallen in the patch of weeds. Yes, this was embarrassment, all right. I was beginning to recognise it all too clearly. "Oh, Mr. Piggles must really like you," she said to me. "You two will be great pals, and I'm sure Lord Wolf-Salot and Countess Whiskers will like you just as much." I looked at the dog and cat robot. They didn't look back at me. The woman leaned down and tickled the pig under its chin. I wished I could speak in a normal way so I could explain to the woman why I needed help. I didn't want her to think I was broken in case I was sent back to the scrapyard. She lifted me from the basket and held me up to get a better look. I drew a smile across my face. I wanted her to like me so she would fix me. I wanted her to make my words work again so I could tell her everything about Beth and Grandma and the pendant and... "Frank!" the woman shouted, so loudly it made my head rattle. "Come here, Frank!" The boy sloped into the room, a sneer on his face and a small black screen in his hand, which he did not take his eyes off. It was some sort of game, and his thumbs moved so quickly on it, I wondered for a moment if he might be a robot boy. But he had some greenish liquid running from his nose, which meant he was definitely human. "Frank, look what I found for you," said the woman, swinging me around to show me off. "Uh-huh," said Frank, not looking up from the game. His mother grabbed the game away, much to Frank's horror. Then she shoved me at him. I caught sight of the explosions and shooting on the screen. Mum," protested Frank, "I'm nearly at level 4000. "I got you a pet," said his mother. "A pet?" I thought, horrified. These three animal robots might have been pets, but I was me. I was Boot. "A pet?" said Frank. "That's not a pet. It's a cracked tin can." The smile fell from my face. A scowl went up instead. "It's a grumpy tin can too," said Frank, pushing past me and resuming his game. "Now," she said, ignoring his whining, "you need a distraction from that thing in your hand. And well, you know I don't like you messing with my pets." She looked over at Countess Whiskers, Sir Wolf-Salot and Mr. Piggles, who were each standing to attention with their heads up. "Especially since you sat on poor Mr. Piggles and broke his snout." Mr. Piggles waggled his snout. It rattled. "But this sweet little toy robot came along with no owner, and I thought it would make a perfect pet for you." She held me up again. I did not like being waved about like this. Frank had his arms crossed and his chin in his chest and looked very unimpressed. I drew the same look on my face. I was not impressed either. "So," said Frank, shrugging. So it doesn't look like much now, said his mother, but if you glue a horn on its face, it could be your own pet rhinoceros. Pet rhinoceros! Or we could glue big ears to it and make it your own little chimp. I could call it Mr. Chimples, mumbled Frank, coming round to the idea. If I make that robot my pet, can I play the game again? Yes, said his mother, handing me over. Frank stared at me like I didn't matter. He might as well have been staring at an empty box. Maybe I could turn this robot into my own pet leprechaun. I searched my brain for some information on leprechauns, and when I found it, I couldn't help but draw a little red-bearded fellow on my face. I'll glue some old red carpet to its chin to make a beard, and put a small green hat on its head, and... Frank went on for a while about this, shaking me around, turning me upside down, examining me, pulling a bit on my arm. Eventually, he threw me roughly back into the basket, alongside the cat, the dog, and the pig. Mr. Piggles licked me again. Frank and his mother left for another room to get the old red carpet to glue to my face. I was not going back to Beth dressed as a leprechaun. The window was open a little, and outside was a metal platform and a ladder. Did I dare escape again? We could glue a little pipe to its face too, I heard Frank say in the other room. I did dare escape. I gave one last look at the empty-headed Mr. Piggles, Sir Wolf-Salot and Countess Whiskers. I waved goodbye, climbed out the open window, and was away.